Hello, welcome to the Chris Davis Show. I'm your host, Chris Davis, and today we're going to talk about E3. We're going to do a review of E3. So there's 6 press conferences. Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, Bethesda, Ubisoft, and EA. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the consoles first, and then I'm going to talk about the developers. So we're splitting it into 3. Okay. Let's start off with Microsoft because that's the first one I saw. All right, Microsoft's press conference. It was really good. I enjoyed it. What I liked about it, they unveiled the new Xbox One X. This is not only the most powerful console ever made, it's the smallest Xbox they've made. And so I was really impressed by that, and I was really impressed on how the games look. When the players or developers were playing on the Xbox One X, I could really see the difference in the graphics and everything. I want to talk about the decision for Xbox to end console generations later. Right now, I just want to talk about their press conference. Okay, so their press conference was good. Phil Spencer did a great job with his presentation. The games looked great playing on the Xbox One X. They also mentioned the backwards compatibility on the Xbox One X. It won't only play 360 games, but it'll play the original Xbox games, and they're supposed to look better on the Xbox One X than they did in the previous consoles. So I do look forward into seeing that. Okay. What I also liked about this press conference, the biggest things that stood out to me was Forza, uh, Crackdown 3, and Anthem. Um, Xbox One X, I mean, Xbox promised exclusives. But a lot of their exclusives were just from small developers. The only big ones was really to me was Anthem, Crackdown 3, and Forza. I liked the Porsche that they showed. It looked really nice. Crackdown 3, I loved Terry Crews's intro. It was amazing. It really got the fans there pumped up at E3. Um, Anthem was good too, but the 2 presentations that I liked the most was Forza and Crackdown 3. Crackdown 3 is because of Terry Crews. Terry Crews did a wonderful job with his intro. Problems I had with their press conference was, yes, they promised exclusives, but as I mentioned earlier, they were just from small developers. It was really a quantity instead of a quality thing. I would want to see more quality games that were exclusive to Xbox One X. A lot of the games I saw there, which they brought up a lot of Xbox exclusives, but a lot of them were from small indie developers, and I thought they could do a lot better with their exclusives, bringing more bigger titles to the Xbox. With them, they've been behind Sony this generation, and they really want consumers, gamers, to choose Xbox. Alright, so you're competing with Sony, and people even say you're competing with Nintendo. What can they get from like Xbox that they can't get anywhere else? I liked their crossplay with their Windows 10. I believe they by making that decision, they're getting a lot of more Windows fans into Xbox and really bringing those Xbox users and those Windows 10 users together, um, making everything more synced. Um, I've always liked that. Now that I've talked about the Xbox's press conference, I want to discuss their decision to end all console generations. Okay, for them to end console generations. I don't really think that that's a really good idea. In my opinion, I'm just gonna state this: Xbox wants console generations to end because of the frustration that they had um, with the Xbox One when it released in 2013. Um, they got a lot of backlash, and they were accused of trying to ruin the user game market, trying to weaken consumers' rights, and for them just to make more money as developers. And of course, making more money as developers is perfectly okay, but people had a real problem about how they were doing it. Just when the Xbox One was released, uh, it was there was a lot of drawbacks to it, from the marketing standpoint, even to a technical standpoint. When they released it, it was you could only buy digitally. Well, as I said earlier, people may prefer to get a hard copy. People may prefer to buy a game used at GameStop. People may prefer to buy it from a friend. So it was, in the consumer's mind, their attempt to take away consumer rights and to destroy the user game market so they can make more money for themselves. Also, with their digital only, I think at first, rather than having it saved to the console, it was just streaming. And the drawback with that was if your internet speed wasn't fast enough, then the game wouldn't work as well. Also, they had a very complicated sharing process with the Xbox One when it was first released. I believed if you wanted your friend, if your friend wanted to borrow your game, you would have to get them like approved on your account or something, and you could only have a specific amount of people on that account. It was just a very complicated process for you to lend your friend a game for a week or for just a weekend. You just couldn't give it to them. You had to do something inside the console in order for them to get approved in order to use the game. And if you wanted to sell it back to GameStop, if you did get a hard copy, in order for GameStop to resell the game that you just returned to them, or trade it in, whatever you want to call it, they would have to have this machine that would have to wipe the disc clean so like other people can use it. It was just a very complicated process for consumers to share their game, for them to sell it, to trade it in, and just think about how much money that would have cost like GameStop if they had to install this machine to clean the disc. It just wasn't a good idea. It just wasn't a good idea, and it backfired on them. But with the Xbox One X, they're doing the backwards compatibility. They're doing the cross-platform with Windows 10. I still don't think that it's a good idea for them to end console generations, because the Xbox One X, keep in mind, is the most powerful console so far, right? So right now it's the most powerful console. But what if down the road Sony was to release the PlayStation 5 or something like that, then arguably they would have the most powerful console, not Xbox. So what would they do about it? And I've just been having like a whole mixed reaction about the Xbox One X and this idea of ending console generations. Because as I mentioned, if Sony comes out with another console and then it runs faster than the Xbox One X, it has more teraflops or something, what is Microsoft going to do? They mentioned that they were going to do something like PCs now. So does that mean that when a new hardware comes out, you're going to have people install it in? Because that's what PCs do. People rig these big computers, and when a new computer part comes out, then they take out their old one and put in a new one. Is that what you're going to do? If not, then are you going to release another console for the hardware? Then it wouldn't technically be the end of console generations. You would still be improving the hardware in order to keep up with competitors. But with that being said, I did like their press conference. It was a lot better than last year, that's for certain. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the Xbox One X. Like I said, the games that they showed on there, Middle Earth, Shadow of War, Assassin's Creed, all look wonderful on the Xbox One X. We're just gonna see if that works out from a business standpoint, ending console generations. Alright, now let's talk about Sony. Okay, Sony's press conference. It was really good. They started off with this Indian music, someone playing the sitar, and then when they started unveiling their games, they had some audio trouble. But I say, despite that, they still had a great press conference. We saw an expansion for Horizon Zero Dawn, which looks wonderful on the PlayStation 4. We saw better exclusives from Sony. We saw God of War. We saw Spider-Man. So Sony did an excellent job with their exclusives. They've been ahead of this generation, of this console generation. So their press conference was done very well. It was really good, despite the hiccup with the audio. Their press conference was good, and their exclusives were like better than Microsoft's. Definitely bigger exclusives for Sony. Okay, and now that I'm done talking about Sony, let's talk about Nintendo. Nintendo, I'm not gonna stay on Nintendo long, because Nintendo, they just did a spotlight. It was just 24 minutes, under half an hour. So we're not gonna stick long on this subject. Nintendo Spotlight, it was done very well. The Nintendo Switch, it's done better than I thought. Nintendo has definitely learned from the Wii U. What I was really impressed by their Spotlight was Mario Odyssey. Looks like a very fantastic game, very visually appealing. I liked the open world and the graphics. It looks really nice. It reminds me of Super Mario Galaxy a little bit. I really loved that game. They also unveiled Metroid Prime 4. So Metroid Prime 4, it's been about like 10 years since they released Metroid Prime 3. So this is what I've really been waiting for from Nintendo, for them to release first-party developers such as Mario, more Metroid Prime. They're even releasing Kirby. Okay, so really for them, it would be nice for them to get third-party developers, but if they could just pump out more of their first-party developers, Metroid Prime, Mario, more Legend of Zelda, that would definitely help them. Speaking of Legend of Zelda, they also mentioned an expansion for Legend of Zelda, so I thought that was very nice. We also got word that they're going to release a Pokemon RPG title. It's a little over a year away, but they're working on it, so we do have confirmation that they are. Just I want to mention two Pokemon games that were on the GameCube that were core RPG titles are Pokemon Colosseum and Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. Now, I never played Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness, but I did play Pokemon Colosseum. And Pokemon Colosseum was so fun. The story mode was excellent. The different features you could do that were in the game, they were amazing. I liked the snagging machine where you could snag the dark Pokemon. It was just a phenomenal game. And if this Pokemon Core RPG is like anything like Pokemon Colosseum, then it's going to be just a really good game. They also mentioned Pokken DX. They made Pokken for the Wii U. This is an upgrade for the Switch like they did for Mario Kart. Now, what I want them to do is, like they did for Mario Kart, like they're doing for Pokken, what I want them to do next is create an updated version for an updated version of Star Fox Zero. That was released on the Wii U. I'd like to see an upgraded version for the Switch. Okay, since they did it for Pokken and Mario Kart, I want to see it for Star Fox. It would really go great with their plan of releasing more first-party games, more first-party developers. I believe that would really help their plan if they did that. So, like, who won E3 with the consoles and everything? It's tough to decide. I want to give it to Sony because they had the better exclusives, the bigger ones. Microsoft did unveil the Xbox One X, and it is more powerful than the PlayStation 4 Pro. Nintendo is on a roll. They are gaining momentum by releasing more first-party developers, more first-party games. If I had to choose, I would just give it to Sony. Their press conference, they have great exclusives. They have a lot of cross-platform games. On there. So games that you can play on Xbox One, you can also play on the PlayStation 4. Just Sony did a really great job with the games that they presented at E3. So I would have to give it to Sony. Nintendo Switch, it's about maybe 3 months old in its console generation, so I think it might be in third place. But yeah, Sony to me is definitely ahead. We have to wait until the Xbox One X is released to see how much it impacts the gaming market. Okay, now I want to switch to like the developers. Ubisoft, Electronic Arts, EA, and Bethesda. Or Bethesda. They did terribly, but we'll talk about them last. Let's just talk about Ubisoft. Ubisoft did an amazing job. I would have to give them number one. I liked their collaboration with Nintendo with Mario and Rabbids. I liked their Assassin's Creed game. Just Ubisoft really embodied E3 this year. E3 is about releasing like the biggest games that are coming out this year are games that are coming out after the holidays. They just did an excellent job with their presentation, and with the games that they showed. Assassin's Creed Origins, I'm definitely looking forward to that game. To me, the game has shown that it's different from other Assassin's games. But the Hawk as your pet, and he can scour enemies for you, and all the different animals that they showed in Assassin's Creed. I saw a hyena, I saw a leopard, I saw a lion, I saw a crocodile. There's even a giant snake that you fight. So I was really impressed by Assassin's Creed Origins and by Ubisoft. I hope that this one doesn't have bugs in it, like Unity did. I hope this game is really just crisp and it just works properly. Definitely looking forward to Assassin's Creed Origins. I also liked their dance party game with BB Rexa and the panda dancing. It was really interesting. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. Ubisoft did an excellent job. Electronic Arts, EA. To me, they're second to Ubisoft. They showed a lot of sports games, NBA, NBA, NFL, and to me, with the sports games, there's not really much of a change. They're all really similar. They add a few tweaks then and there, but they're basically the same. To me, there hasn't been any difference with the sports game since Madden 2003, when they allowed you to open up a franchise within the game. So the sports games, I like playing them sometimes, but to me there's no drastic difference when sports games come out every year. They just add a little few more tweaks there and then make it a little bit more polished. What I did like from EA was Need for Speed Payback and Star Wars Battlefront 2. Now, Need for Speed Payback is an actual game that I look forward to, because this time it's not just a racing game. This is kind of like a game where you're doing heists and stuff, so that makes it very interesting. I also liked with their presentation when they were showing Need for Speed Payback, the car that busted out of the truck, it looked really nice. It looked like a really good car. Star Wars Battlefront 2. EA has listened to gamers' feedback, and they are improving Star Wars Battlefront 2 immensely, with different classes of soldiers that you can use, a story mode that's going to be in the canon of Star Wars. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is going to take place between the Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. So this game is going to be very interesting to play. They're adding a campaign mode, so I'm definitely interested in Star Wars Battlefront 2. So Electronic Arts, they just did an amazing job. They did a great job. Was really impressed by the games they showed. Like I said, the sports that they released every year, they add a little few tweaks then and there. But I really liked Need for Speed Payback, and I really liked Star Wars Battlefront 2. I do look forward to playing those games. Bethesda is in last place out of everybody. Even Nintendo. Nintendo just had their Spotlight, which was basically a direct. They were under 30 minutes and they still beat Bethesda. I mean, why did Bethesda even bother going to E3 this year? Basically, if you didn't watch Bethesda, you didn't really miss out on anything. They showed expansions for games that they've already released last year. Um, Far Cry and Skyrim. Skyrim's old. When they first showed it, I thought this was supposed to be a more recent Skyrim, but no. They're still wanting to add expansions to Skyrim, which is like this game is like 6 years old. Um, to me, Bethesda like misses the point of E3. E3 is supposed to be when you show like the biggest games that are coming out this year, and or that's coming out a little over a year, but they didn't really do that. They showed us some VR stuff and some little expansions, and that basically was it. They just did just a terrible job with their presentation and everything. A Bethesda land and the 1950s kind of theme didn't really stick with me. Just when I compare Bethesda to the other presentations, they're just like in last place. I mean, Nintendo, in my mind, beat them, and they just did a Nintendo Spotlight. And Bethesda is doing like paid mods. They showed that as a thing after they've already received a backlash for doing paid mods. I personally hate paid mods. I don't like buying a game maybe $40 or $60 and then you're going to do paid mods. I can do DLCs, but what I can't tolerate is paid mods. So paid mod, example, you like in Skyrim, you buy maybe like a sword, pay real money just to buy a sword, and that's it, or to buy a shield. Or in Far Cry, maybe buy a gun or a different skin, paying real money just to buy that. And you see why gamers get really frustrated or really angered by that. So Bethesda just did a very bad job. It was just, it was really bad. They really didn't show like any big game that they were going to release this year. Just more add-ons and paid mods, and you just compare it to all the others. They just did terribly. Okay, that's that's all we have for today. Let me know what you think about E3 in the comment section below. Who was your favorite? Alright, let me know. Thank you. Have a great day.